Good evening, everyone. Let's head right on in to Collectively Rewilding. Oops, wrong community. All right, here we are in the right community. And so lots going on, not so much that I have been able to spend in the garden. You guys heard a little bit of that, or maybe all of that, with my husband. He fell Thursday night. It was right as he was getting ready to shower and go to bed for his next day at work. And our flight of stairs is 15 stairs long. I told the ER I didn't know 12, 15 stairs. I hadn't counted it, which is unusual. I usually know how many stairs. I like to know, but I haven't had the time since we moved in here, and we've been here for we've been here for over a year. Excuse me. It's actually been a little over a year and a month. So that's really wonderful and everything. But he did fall, and it is 15. So somewhere between 13 or 14 stairs is what he fell. And so it's just been kind of crazy, but there are things going on in the garden. We've had to cut down another tree. I may have mentioned to you guys that we were going to have to. It's a white spruce that we didn't want to cut down. It didn't need to go, but when we cut down all the other trees, it affected the white spruce enough one way or the other that it was 10% alive at best. And so we went ahead and cut that down. And it's still in the front yard, just sitting there, because that was something we were going to do over this weekend. We tried to put the herbicide on the stumps for these aspen and silver birch, but it keeps raining. And so we haven't been able to do that. We're still waiting to do that. And now I'll be the one out there cutting into it, because Jay has to be pretty well very, very calm. Let's just say he can't lift over 10 pounds or twist his back for at least 4 to 6 weeks. So pretty crazy for what his life is going to be like for the next little bit. And I have some new ideas about how I want to attack these stumps. I want to practice with my little hatchet and see if I can't get it deeper than we've been able to get with the Sawzall. And so that's a big part of what we have going on. And we are ready to put fertilizer down, only on certain spots though, because it's still not quite enough cold in the area that we want to put fertilizer on, say for instance, our rows of Sharons or the rose bushes or the maple that we're not going to try to save. We wouldn't mind keeping that one, but they have it right up next to the driveway. And it drips, right? It's a maple tree. And so it has some very sticky sap, and it takes about 10 car washes, maybe more, before you can get that sap off. So we can't park on almost 2/3 of our driveway. And so we're going to eventually have to cut that one down too. But, we're going to replace it with 2 cherry trees and either a peach tree or a pink lady apple tree, depending on whether the city will let us cut down the kind of yucky trees that they want to get rid of and then replace those with peach trees. And if we can do that, then we'll have 2 cherry trees, an apple tree, and 2 peach trees all here on the front part of the property. And in the back, we're going to allow the mulberry that's taken over a dead tree that was back there. It's an invasive species. So I have been kind of going back and forth in my head. I would like to keep it, but it is going to be able to spread through birds and things for both that and the blackberry vine. So I just keep going back and forth in my head about whether or not I'm going to keep those. We're definitely going to put an olive tree and an almond tree back there. And there are 2 rose bushes, and I would also like to put a lilac bush in. And so those are all things that you can get food products off of. The lilacs on a lilac bush are edible. And my daughter and I, my oldest daughter and I, have actually made lilac syrup. And it's so pretty. It is lilac colored, right? The syrup. And it was a lot of fun. She was very young. She does remember doing that though. And she also remembers making dandelion flower jelly. And it was very tasty. It tasted very much like honey. And I'm sure it will taste different though, no matter where you are. It'll be different than where I was up in Wyoming, and now we're here in Utah. I'm sure it would have a different flavor. Also, I think that as the overall changes continue to occur around us, whether because of human intervention or climate change, then the honey taste may change, right? Even honeys change depending on that kind of thing, right? So all really interesting to play with it and see what you can come up with. But those are two different things that you can do readily. Create lilac syrup or dandelion jelly, right? Two really fun foraging kind of mentalities. I wouldn't call lilacs exactly foraging. However, there are lilacs that end up being abandoned or that are in areas that are not maintained, right? And so that's kind of what that foraging map, where we checked that out in a previous class, I think a couple of weeks ago. That's the type of thing that you can add onto that foraging map. If any of you are interested in it and like that mentality, that foraging thought, not only can you get into that map to utilize what's already there, but you can add anything that you find. And so rose bushes, you can eat the petals off of rose, I believe all roses. Let's just double check though. But I'm pretty certain that all rose petals are edible. Are all roses petals edible? There we go. They said it better. Yes, all parts of the rose plant, including the petals, are edible. Wow, I didn't realize that much of the rose bush was edible. But they should only be consumed if they are free of pesticides and chemicals. Interesting. So more than just the rose petals and the rose hips. Those were the two that I was aware of that had use. Let's just see what it talks about here. Now, it doesn't really talk about using their leaves. I think this is kind of an AI error in their wording. So let's just jump into this masterclass.com. Are roses edible? 6 culinary roses. Edible flowers, right? Are roses edible? All of which are edible, the rose plants, rose petals plus, in fact. Rose leaves, petals, buds, and hips are all edible parts of the plant. Wow, that's really amazing. That is very, very good to know. And it does not mention roots, right? So whether it's just because people don't really ruin rose bushes by utilizing the roots or they're not usable, I'm not sure. But that's really good to know. Very interesting. Gosh, you learn something new every day, right? That really is true. If you're out there trying new things, doing new things, right, Tammy? Trying and doing new things. So all of those types of plants are going to be later in the season where we put down that seaweed fertilizer, right? The seaweed wrap that's been broken down and decomposed in water. On the lawn, however, and on the backyard where it's all just wildflowers and weeds, we can go ahead and add that fertilizer as it's ready and just kind of put it out there. I'm putting out more than is generally recommended because the soil has been so depleted. And overall, with the exception of the fact that it didn't take in the front yard over the heat wave, right? We learned that it's really not a good idea to do it during those heat wave periods. It still sat there in that soil without really damaging the grass. And I didn't really have any negative consequences. Now, it could have been a part of what happened to the white spruce, but I really don't think so because it was fine until we cut the trees down and I had put fertilizer on it already, right? Because it had branches that were being interfered with by the other trees and just I had kind of doused the whole area. So all things that you want to keep in mind though. And we have that ready to go. We'll probably have to wait till Thursday to put it down. I have so many different containers now with it that I think we'll get a good portion of the backyard where I haven't really been able to spread it out there much because the grass was just so depleted that this actually dead soil I had already brought more life back to than what the lawn was left to us by the previous owner, where they were watering 3 times a day. Oh my goodness, such soil depletion when you see that kind of abuse of abuse of the land, abuse of the resources, all of it, right? And so it's just really an unfortunate kind of a situation. We're also, cross our fingers, guys, we're trying to get refinanced tomorrow through an FHA streamlined loan, right? That's kind of something we talk about a little bit more in LH2, but it's something that an FHA loan provides, and it'll lower our payment, which will help us to move forward with the Wally Peony. But wish us luck, because we have to get an appraisal tomorrow, and we have a huge hole in our backyard with a corresponding mound of dirt. And so we're going to talk to them. It's not for sale. We're not trying to sell it in that regard. So hopefully there'll be some little flexibility there. According to our lender, and she's really great. I really like her. I cannot stand America First Credit Union, but Katie Smith here in Utah is pretty amazing. And she said that there is some subjectivity involved with the appraisal, that they get to kind of have a little bit of leeway. So hopefully it will all work out, and that will help us to move forward, like I said, with the Wally Peony. And then this spring, taking out a business loan in conjunction or co-signed with our neighbor to get a mini excavator to finally get all of that soil moved, right? We moved a lot. It's rather amazing when you really look at how much has been moved, but it's even more depressing when you look at how much still has to be moved. And so we're definitely going to have to, at minimum, rent some equipment in the spring, right, if the loan doesn't work out. But cross my fingers, I'd really like to do that. I have so many different projects over the years that it'd be useful for, as does my neighbor, and also renting it out, right? Undercut those big box guys a little bit and still provide all the right insurance and all of that kind of correct type of presentation. You find the apps that you can rent these things through and be very professional on both sides, right? And make a little bit of passive income there. So those are just parts of moving forward as a business, as a garden, as collectively rewilding, continuing on with the garden certification through Gardenary, and oh my gosh, just so much going on. How about for all of you? What do you guys have going on in your outdoor world? Anything big? Nothing? Everybody's tired? It's been a crazy, crazy busy day, right? Let's see if
Nothing big and exciting from yesterday. I mean,
right? That's fair.
We actually took out that what was it called again? So that one thing, that one plant that we thought it was amaranth, it's Palmer amaranth.
Yeah, Palmer.
Amaranth.
And no, Palmer amaranth.
But amaranth, right?
Amaranth.
That's the plant that you're talking.
It's a different it's Palmer.
Tamarisk with the T.
No, it's Palmer.
Amaranth.
Amaranth.
Yeah, amaranth, right?
Yeah.
Like what we've been talking about, the red amaranth.
So this is actual a weed that is very invasive, and what happens is they grow these they're from it's from my bird feed, but it's one of those plants where you just don't want it growing at all. Once it dries, the leaf thingy, it spreads the seeds, and it's very bad. It's very bad to have. You do not want it growing on your yard.
Yeah, and it'd be packed with seeds.
It'd be packed with seeds. So once it dries to brown, those seeds spread.
Yeah,
and these plants get up to 6 to 8 feet, and they're very aggressive. Very aggressive.
So you're gonna get rid of those then.
I pulled it out as soon as I knew it, because it was spiky, and I'm like, why aren't you purple? Why aren't you a pretty color? And I'm like, okay, why did it die? Is that what it's supposed to do? But I guess when it turns brown, that's when the seeds start spraying themselves. So yeah, Daryl pulled it out. I mean, you can use it for edible stuff. You can use the seeds and grind it up to flour and stuff. But
yeah, well, if we left it there, the seeds would get spread by the wind, and it would just be a much bigger problem later.
Yeah. So now that
I would doubt that the red amaranth that they sell at the stores is invasive, and so if you really wanted to have that, you could have a prettier one.
Yeah, I haven't even opened those seeds, so I knew it wasn't that one. So when I saw this green, I'm like, yours is prettier. I'm like, mine's not like that. Maybe it's some different one, but the red stalk thing, that was cool. But other than that, okay, no, you're not going to be here. You're going to be spraying your seeds and making it like hell for me. No, I don't think so. You know, it's just not a good weed to have because they're big and they grow on the ground kind of
Wow.
thing, and they like to yeah. So yeah, we took that out.
I guess they contaminated a lot of seeds from out of Texas, actually.
Yeah, I was watching a video. It was from I think Missouri Extension, Cooperative Extension, how they were talking about pig's weed and how they can relate the pig's weed from that. And I guess their leaves are different, and there's difference between males and females. Yeah, all that stuff. So yeah, that's what we kind of learned about that. So other than that, nothing really. Just clean up the yard and.
Well, we averted potential disaster.
Yeah.
That would suck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it would have sucked if we had more of that. But if they do come up, now we know what it is.
We don't want it to be endemic here. We have enough to deal with the.
I'd rather deal with millet, to be quite honest.
As a larger project.
Is millet not a good thing for your area?
Well,
that would
millet
be
is
like-
good.
I would have to be
Okay.
cutting it down twice
Yeah,
a
millet
year,
grows real
probably.
good, and it's kind of like it doesn't grow like that one plant. It just grows like a stalk, and birds
Mhm.
love it, and you can eat it as wheat too, as well.
Oh,
It's
it's
a
a
good
grain, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was walking down the street today.
and they only grow
Actually-
like during the winter.
Actually, it
you
looks
know,
like there's some amaranth.
so they'll
growing
die
along the
out and they'll
roadside
come back.
near one of our neighbors' houses. But that's their problem if they don't deal with it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's in the bird feed. So yeah, I never, that's never ever popped up ever until I start getting different types of bird feed, So yeah, you be careful what's in your bird seed, you guys. You might get unwanted invasive plants that might not
A real
even garden.
consideration, right? Another thing to think about when we feed animals too much, it makes it harder for them to think about gathering. It's also walking a delicate balance though, right? Because we destroy so much of their environment that they aren't able to forage for themselves as well. So it's a tough kind of an area, but yeah, you don't want to do something nice for other creatures and then have it destroying your yard. Anyone else? Anything going on for anybody else? All right, guys. Well, I have to tell you, it has been a crazy wild day, and I think it would not be bad to go ahead and wrap it up. Definitely should have more to talk with you guys about next week. I barely got to get even into the garden area. I did get a move forward, so I don't feel like I've stalled out completely, but it was just barely there. And there's so much going on with that is so good for what we're talking about. That's going to work in so great with the garden planner. Just everything is really, coming into alignment with all of these different pieces. And I'm really excited to share all of that with you guys, right? So it's just, oh my goodness. It's been a very busy couple of months. And this last week was just even extra busy. So let's jump into our calendar. And our next class, I did have to modify this because meeting with Matthew for LH2 now on Mondays kind of put a kink in my meetings with my SBDC mentor for Collectively Rewilding. So I moved our meeting tomorrow for Let's Quit Together down by a little bit. I don't remember what the original time was. So that's going to be tomorrow for Let's Quit Together. I hope you guys are all doing great with that. And that will be at 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 2 o'clock p.m. Mountain, 3 o'clock p.m. Central, and 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern. It's just for a half an hour, so definitely pop in if you guys have time. And I hope you all have wonderful weeks. Please feel free to unmute everybody and say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Enjoy your evenings.
Bye.
See you all tomorrow. Bye, guys.